Today, I'm going to share another 4 good lessons for beginners that I've learned on the trails, and in some cases in the comments section on this YouTube channel. First though, a word of explanation for the subscribers. I still haven't been able to get anywhere further than my local trails. Long story short, a decade of rust and New England road salt was too much for the hitch mounts on our RAV4. So although we've purchased a hitch rack, we can't actually attach it to anything, so I still don't actually have a way to transport my bike other than by riding it somewhere. We're working on it though. But hey, I still have access to some great trails right near my home, so it hasn't stopped me from learning. Lesson number 1, stand up more. This is something a lot of you have mentioned in the comments, and after a while, I've realized that part of my problem is that when I was standing up, I was often doing it wrong. I didn't have my weight low enough or far enough back when descending, which negates some of the value of standing when riding down steeper sections. I also probably wasn't appreciating the value that a quick stand-up can have when climbing. It's a quick way to get a little extra power, of course, and I knew that from riding a bike as a kid, but it's also easier to get your bike up an obstacle if your body is already up it. Finally, skinnies are easier when standing. I felt more comfortable sitting over them at first, but I started getting over the little ladder bridge on our home trail much more consistently as soon as I started standing so I could shift my weight quickly when needed. Lesson 2. Slower is not necessarily easier. If you've ridden a bike before, this is really obvious when you think about it. But to be honest, I hadn't thought about it until Dwarf Zombie left this comment on my first beginner lessons video. In case it's not obvious, here's why. The slower you go, the more difficult balance is going to become, generally speaking. If you're trying to ride in a straight line, it's going to be easier to do that going 10 miles an hour than going 0.5 miles an hour. On the trail, of course, you can't just ride in a straight line. The harder the trail is, the more challenging keeping your balance is likely to be. So, although it might seem like taking it slow on a hard trail makes sense because you have more time to navigate each obstacle, you're also ramping up the difficulty because balancing is harder. And there are other reasons going slow is harder too. At least on a 29er, I can roll right over many obstacles if I have some speed, whereas navigating the same obstacles at low speed requires more finesse. In other words, listen to Dwarf Zombie and don't be me. Don't equate taking it easy with taking it slow, particularly on tougher trails. Lesson 3, avoid getting tilted. Although I think it actually comes from poker, tilted is a term I learned back in the days when I played League of Legends. It refers to the frustrated mindset you can get stuck in after you make a mistake that generally leads to more mistakes. You screw up, you get frustrated, your frustration makes you screw up again, so you get even more frustrated. You're tilted. This is a mental trap I've definitely fallen into on rides. Mentally, I know that making mistakes is inevitable and in fact essential to making progress, but that still doesn't mean I like making them. And when I make stupid ones, it's easy for me to get frustrated and, well, tilt. There are a lot of ways to combat this, of course, but here are a few techniques that have worked for me. Take a break for 5 minutes. This is a particularly essential one for bigger mistakes like crashes, as it also allows you a little time to work through your body's stress response and get your heart rate down. Box breathing. Any breathing or meditative exercise will work, probably, but box breathing is really easy. Breathe in while counting to 4, hold your breath while counting to 4, exhale while counting to 4. Repeat. You can even do this while continuing to ride, if you're not on particularly challenging terrain. Listen to music or sing a song. I would never have headphones on while riding, but taking a short break to listen to some tunes can help you get your mind off the tilt, and so can singing. And if you're looking for something new, I can strongly recommend RTJ4. Lesson 4, go in with a goal, sometimes. In my experience, you get the most out of practicing any skill when you do what's called deliberate practice. Googling that term could send you down a deep rabbit hole of psychology, but basically, I just mean that when you're trying to improve, you should be working on something specific. This may be particularly important as a beginner because there are a million things I could be working on at any given time. If I want to make meaningful progress, it's better to pick 1 or 2 to focus on per ride. For example, I've recently been trying to work on keeping my eyes and body pointed where I want to go while turning. and I can feel that it's really helping. That said, it's also worth remembering that for most of us, me included, the point of mountain biking is to have fun. Not every ride needs to be deliberate practice. Sometimes my goal might just be to ride a new trail or to have some fun in the woods. But when I'm trying to progress, I definitely have more success when I pick just a thing or two to work on at a time. And that's it for today. If you're a beginner like me, I hope you found at least some of this helpful. If you're a veteran, thanks for all the help you've already provided in the comments, and please keep it up because, as you can tell, it's helping me. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. We'll get the trailer hitch situation figured out one way or another, and I'm excited to start riding and showing off some of the other trails in Maine and elsewhere in New England.